It is time for another 1-minute market update where we talk about the two things that you should care about most if you're a homeowner. That's how much is your home worth today compared to what it was yesterday, and how long would it take to sell in today's market. I'm Angelo with the Atlas Group. We are filming this in April, meaning we are looking at the stats from March. If you watched the video from last month, you'll have heard me say that the free fall seems to have stopped. And it's kind of the same this month. The same sort of thing happened again, where pricing didn't really do anything too exciting, but that's actually a change from what's been happening over the past couple of years. It's probably no surprise to you, but real estate prices in the Lower Mainland, in and around Vancouver, have been coming down pretty dramatically. But in March, things actually leveled off a little bit, and in some cases actually saw some very, very slight increases. This is not enough to call the bottom by any means, but it's at least a bit of positive momentum that the market's seeing, where over the last couple of years, there really hasn't been much positive to talk about, except for affordability, which thankfully has gotten better. As always, let's start off with detached homes in Burnaby. You are up 1.1% from last month, but still down 9.6% from last year, for a month-over-month loss in cash value of about $17,000. New West, you're down 0.4% from last month and down 9.5% from last year, for a month-over-month loss of $12,900. Coquitlam, you are up 0.9% from last month and down 9.4% from this time last year, for a month-over-month loss of $14,000. Port Moody, you are up 0.6% but down 5.9% from this time last year, for a month-over-month loss of $10,417. Port Coquitlam, you are up 0.3% from last month and down 4.6% from last year, for a small month-over-month loss of $5,400. Maple Ridge, you are up 1.9% from last month and down 4.8% from last year, for a small month-over-month loss of $5,100. And finally, Pitt Meadows, you are up 4% from last month. That's a big jump, but still down 5.3% from this time last year, for a month-over-month loss of $5,800. So you just heard me talking about the month-over-month losses, and what that is it's a new stat that we started looking at a couple of months ago, and it's looking at, over the past 12 months on average, how much you have lost in estimated value, in perceived value on average. Now, why do we look at this number? Well, because we talk in percentages a lot, and that doesn't really mean a lot for a lot of people, but dollars do. Cash always talks. The reason that it's important to look at this stat is because there's a lot of people in the market right now who are waiting. They're either waiting for springtime or they're just waiting for things to get better. That's a conversation that we have a lot. Now, there are absolutely genuine situations where it does absolutely make sense to wait. But if you're in a situation like you're downsizing or you're selling a property that you're not living in and you're not planning on purchasing again, relatively quickly, waiting actually in a market like this costs you real dollars. There is an actual financial loss to waiting. And a lot of people seem to think that, waiting for the springtime will be better. And again, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. But if everybody thinks that, if everybody who's considering selling a home thinks that they're going to wait until springtime, we're already in a situation where inventory is quite elevated. So you increase that level of inventory, the number of homes that are available to buy, and unless you have an equivalent amount of buyers that are entering the market, well, there's going to be more competition amongst home sellers, which actually will push prices down, not up. So anyway, the point being is that if you are considering making a move, there is a link in the description below. You can book a time to chat with us just to have a discussion. We're not here to convince you to sell your home or to do anything. We're just here to provide you with good, solid advice so that you can make a plan that works for you. So if you want to do that, click the link. We'll have a chat with you and we'll get you sorted out. All right, jumping over to townhomes now, once again starting off in Burnaby, you are up 0.2% from last month, but still down 3% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of $2,300. New West, you are down 0.9% from last month and down 3.7% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of $2,800. Coquitlam, you are up 0.9% from last month, but still down 6.6% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of $5,900. Port Moody, you are down 0.7% from last month and down 4.6% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of $3,800. Port Coquitlam, you are up 4.4% from last month. That's, again, a pretty big jump, but still down 4.8% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of about $3,700. Maple Ridge, you are down 0.3% from last month and down 8.2% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of $5,400. And Pitt Meadows, you are up 0.7% from last month and down 6% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of $4,100. So I mentioned earlier that there are a lot of people who are waiting until the springtime to possibly sell their homes, but what about the buyer side of things? On the buyer side, we are actually seeing a little bit more activity. Not necessarily more sales. Sales themselves are still down, but talking to other colleagues, mortgage brokers in the industry, people are getting pre-approved. People are feeling more confident and they are putting things in order to be able to purchase their home, whether it's upsizing, buying a first home, whatever. And we've actually been in multiple offer situations a couple of times this year when we didn't really expect to be. So there is still demand. It's just not crazy demand like we saw in 2022. And what seems to be getting the most attention is move-in ready homes that are designed for the end user in mind. What that means is that the person who's buying it is going to live in it. They're not necessarily buying it for an investment or to rent it out or anything like that. It's stuff that people are going to buy and live in. So again, I don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen, but there are more buyers having conversations right now than there has been previously. A lot of the conversations that we have with them is that they feel that affordability has gotten much better. And as long as they're in a stable enough situation themselves, they feel more confident that they can go and make a home purchase that they're going to stay in for the next couple of years at least. And they feel that, over the time that they're going to own that home, that they'll be able to service the debt and, the market will get better, and they're just generally feeling more confident and more optimistic. So that's a good thing. All right, jumping into condos now, once again, starting off in Burnaby, you are down 0.4% from last month and down 8.7% from this time last year for a month-over-month loss of about $5,700. New West, you are up 1.2% from last month, but still down 9.7% from last year for a month-over-month loss of $5,300. Coquitlam, you are down 0.4% from last month and down 8.6% from last year for a month-over-month loss of $5,200. Port Moody, you are up 0.9% from last month and down 4.7% from last year for a small month-over-month loss of about $2,800. Port Coquitlam, you're also up 1.4% from last month, but still down 6.2% from last year for a month-over-month loss of $3,300. Maple Ridge, you are up tiny little amount, 0.1% from last month, but still down 6.3% from last year, again for a month-over-month loss of $2,800. Pitt Meadows, you are up 0.4% from last month, but still down 6.3% from last year for a month-over-month loss of $3,100. All right, and jumping into days on market now, or in other words, how long are homes taking to sell. In Burnaby, you're up a little bit from last month, sitting at 21 days. New West, you're down a little bit, sitting at 18 days. Coquitlam, you are exactly equal with last month, sitting at 15 days. Port Moody, you just about doubled up to 24 days. Port Coquitlam, again, same as last month, 17 days. Maple Ridge, you're down a little bit from last month, sitting at 22 days. and Pitt Meadows down a fair bit from last month, sitting at 12 days on market. So what does all of this mean? Well, if you're not looking to make a move, it doesn't mean anything. Live in your home, enjoy your home, keep paying your mortgage. If you found this video helpful in any way, the only thing I ask you to do is share it with somebody else who might also find it helpful. And while you're at it, you might as well click those buttons down there that YouTube wants you to click. I'm Angelo with the Atlas Group. I'll see you in the next one.